heart beats about 100,000 times in one day. With each heartbeat, the heart sends oxygen and nutrients to cells in your body. You can't survive without your heart. Or can you? Prior to the late 60s, many people were suffering from diseases that resulted in heart damage or ultimately heart failure. Doctors knew only how to treat the symptoms with antibiotics such as ACE inhibitors or beta blockers. While these treatments helped reduce some of the symptoms, the ultimate outcome for many patients was early death. About 5 million Americans suffer from heart failure, and there are approximately 550,000 new cases every year. Heart failure is when the heart cannot pump enough blood to meet the body's needs. Heart disease is also the leading cause of death in the world. 1 in 10 people die from heart disease. Some of the causes of heart failure are blocked arteries and/or cardiomyopathy. Cardiomyopathy is the weakening of heart muscles and is a result of heart diseases.
A revolutionary scientific trial took place on December 3, 1967, when surgeon Christian Barnard performed the first human-to-human heart transplant. Louis Washkansky was suffering from heart failure with a short time to live and was prepared to take the chance. One can say the rest is history. A young woman, Dennis Starvel, had been struck by a car and suffered severe brain damage. Her father did not hesitate when he approached permission to donate her heart. Suddenly, international attention was focused on Grote Schuur Hospital. The original hospital where this transplant was performed has been turned into a museum in honor of these pioneers of medicine and to the first donor and recipient. After 18 days, Louis Washkansky died of pneumonia, not heart failure. His new heart beat strongly to the end. The number of people who needed a new heart greatly outnumbered the number of heart donors. Many heart failure patients could not survive the wait for a donor. One such patient was Robert Jarvik's father. Young Robert Jarvik enjoyed tinkering and inventing things. When Jarvik was in high school, this curious teen once invented a surgical stapler. His father's heart disease had prompted him to change his course of study from architecture to medicine. While attending the University of Utah, Jarvik learned that several artificial hearts had been designed by the mid-70s.
Physicians and scientists then began to consider the possibility of creating a permanent rather than temporary implantable heart model. This novel idea intrigued young Jarvik, who in 1982 successfully created the revolutionary Jarvik 7, a mechanical heart that could completely replace the natural heart until a donor could be found. Jarvik's mechanical heart had 2 pumps, much like the heart's ventricles. Each pump has a disc-shaped mechanism that pushes the blood. These ventricles are air-powered. The timing of Jarvik's invention was a lifesaver for Barney Clark, a Seattle dentist who was dying of heart failure. Clark was only expected to live another week. He chose to be the first to replace his heart with the Jarvik 7 on December 2, 1982. His heart condition drastically improved for about 100 days. He then passed away 112 days after the surgery. The second patient to receive the Jarvik 7 in 1985 was Bill Schroeder. He initially did so well that President Ronald Reagan gave him a get well phone call. However, 2 weeks after the surgery, Schroeder had a stroke, leaving him mentally impaired. In all, he lived 620 days with normal heart functions after the surgery. More than 350 patients received the Jarvik 7. However, as with Clark and Schroeder, complication rates of the Jarvik 7 were very high, and it was originally believed that the Jarvik 7 was at fault.
That's where the press stopped doing research and checking facts and instead began to publish mistake after mistake after mistake. Books, newspapers, and magazine articles with mistaken information were published. People also questioned if the doctors had the right to be playing God with the implantations of artificial hearts. In the meantime, Doctors gained experience and learned how to manage their patients more effectively. The FDA study in 1990 concluded that the Jarvik 7 had the best survival rate of all other artificial heart or ventricular assist devices. Doctors and patients weren't willing to give up. After all, 1 year after treatment, 70% of the patients survived. 5 years after treatment, 50% of the patients survived. And after 8 years, 45% of the patients survived. In response to the press's allegations, Jarvik said, "Consider this question. If you had a failing arm or leg, would you rather have the best possible artificial limb or a device that allowed you to keep your own arm or leg?" Dr. Jarvik continued his research to create the Jarvik 2000 in 1988. It was only about the size of a thumb and had the remarkable capability to assist the natural heart for a lifetime.
Lois Spiller was the first patient to receive the Jarvik 2000. She used the Jarvik 2000 for 79 days until a donor was found. "I was very, very ill before, but now I feel like I have a new life." This revolutionary device gave patients like Lois and Peter Houghton, who only had a few weeks left to live, another option, the Jarvik 2000. In the year 2000, Houghton became the first patient given the Jarvik 2000 for lifetime use and even hiked the Alps with an artificial heart. Even today, the Jarvik 2000 is still impacting lives. Meet Tony Carosella. He would not have survived without the life-saving Jarvik 2000.
They said I caught a viral infection, went through my system and damaged my heart valve. I had congestive heart failure.
Our concern was that we were not going to keep him stable long enough to get a suitable heart donor. So we proposed to him that he undergo implantation of the Jarvik mechanical pump.
It's the size of a C battery, has one moving part, and we were really excited about these devices because they were much smaller, they were less traumatic on the patient, and they had the potential to last virtually forever.
It's one of the few procedures in medicine where you take somebody who is truly on the verge of death, and you completely reverse that.
Today there are many other artificial hearts that are available to heart failure patients, all thanks to Dr. Robert Jarvik and his original Jarvik 7. Doctors and scientists have picked up where Jarvik left off, innovating new and improved ventricular assist devices. These newer models, such as the Thoracic HeartMate 2, have continued to save countless lives and give hope to people like Richard Hendricks, a 30-year-old Florida resident who was suffering from congestive heart failure.
What happened to me was I became very sick. From there, they ran an EKG test, noticed that some things looked funny, and then they ran the x-ray of my chest, and that's when the doctor came out and said that, hey, this isn't an April Fool's joke. You have congestive heart failure and cardiomyopathy. I was admitted to the hospital this last time. I couldn't even stand up to walk. They're going to start the process on putting in a LV8D, which is a left ventricle assist device. You have a little pump inside of you, 2 tubes that connect to the heart, and it constantly is pumping your blood through your system. I was crashing so fast that I only had a day or two left to live until my other organs started shutting down. I was borderline flirting with death, and now I have in my LVAD. This is what it looks like 10 days after surgery, and then I have my control device here, which is controlling the pump inside my body, and then I have 1 tube going inside, and that's it.
These revolutionary Jarvik hearts keep people alive until a donor is found, or the Jarvik heart can beat for a lifetime. Thanks to Robert Jarvik, now you really can survive without your heart.